Globe political debate intensifies over Iran war and rising fuel prices. Republicans in the United States are currently facing growing political pressure over how to explain the ongoing war in Iran and its impact on fuel prices. The situation has become more sensitive as gas prices rise nationally, putting economic issues back at the center of political debate. Before the conflict escalated, Republicans had been highlighting what they described as improving economic conditions under President Donald Trump, especially lower fuel costs. However, that message is now being challenged as the national average for gasoline has climbed above $4 per gallon again, raising concerns among ordinary Americans struggling with daily expenses. At the same time, Trump's economic approval ratings have reportedly dropped to record lows, adding further political pressure on Republicans heading into upcoming elections. Money-bag Democrats focus on cost of living message. Democrats are quickly using the situation to strengthen their argument that Republicans are too focused on foreign conflicts rather than domestic economic relief. They are linking the war to broader affordability issues, especially inflation and transportation costs. The Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee (DCCC) has launched digital advertisements across 44 key congressional districts, directly blaming Republican lawmakers for rising gas prices and higher living costs. Some Democratic candidates have even taken the campaigns to gas stations, using the issue in face-to-face voter outreach. One example is Janelle Stelson, who is challenging Republican Rep. Scott Perry in Pennsylvania. She argues that the billions being spent on the war could be redirected to domestic needs. According to estimates from the Washington-based think tank Center for Strategic and International Studies, the war is costing nearly $890 million per day, intensifying debates about government spending priorities. Stelson criticized the spending, saying that while huge funds are allocated to foreign conflict, many American families are still struggling with basic expenses like fuel and groceries. Oil drum Republican response: energy stability and national security. Republicans, however, defend their position by arguing that the conflict is necessary for national security, particularly to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. They also express optimism that energy prices will stabilize once tensions ease. Rep. Scott Perry said that Americans are feeling real financial pressure but expressed hope that gas prices will fall once the conflict is resolved. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical global oil shipping route, has reportedly reopened to commercial vessels during a temporary ceasefire agreement between Iran and the United States, easing some immediate fears about global oil supply disruptions. A Republican strategist, Alex Conant, suggested that the easing of tensions could benefit the party politically if economic conditions improve. He noted that President Donald Trump was elected partly on promises to reduce inflation and improve job growth, and progress on these issues could strengthen Republican chances in upcoming elections. Bar graph political messaging and public opinion battle. Both parties are now aggressively framing the issue for voters. Republican officials argue that past Democratic policies contributed to inflation and high energy costs. Democrats counter that Republican support for foreign military spending worsens domestic affordability problems. A spokesperson for the National Republican Congressional Committee insisted that voters recognize Republican efforts to stabilize the economy and blame previous policies for economic hardship. Meanwhile, Democrats argue that lower oil prices in global markets do not automatically translate into lower prices at the pump, meaning families may not feel immediate relief even if conditions improve internationally. Balance scale campaign trail rhetoric intensifies. On the campaign trail, rhetoric has become sharper. Some Republican candidates have suggested that Americans may need to temporarily adjust their spending habits, such as reducing non-essential travel, to cope with higher fuel prices during the conflict. Critics say such remarks risk sounding out of touch with voters already struggling financially. In contrast, Democratic candidates are using these statements to argue that Republicans are asking ordinary citizens to bear the burden of global conflicts. Compass broader political stakes. Political analysts suggest that the issue is becoming a test of economic credibility for both parties. If fuel prices remain high, Republicans risk voter backlash over inflation concerns. If prices fall, they may gain political momentum. However, analysts also warn that voters often judge economic conditions based on immediate personal experience, not global market trends or long-term policy explanations. As one Republican strategist noted, voters tend to respond more positively when politicians clearly explain what lies ahead, even if the outlook includes continued high prices in the short term. Pushpin subscribe World News. The debate over Iran, oil prices, and domestic affordability has become a major political battleground. Both Republicans and Democrats are using the issue to shape voter perception ahead of future elections. Ultimately, the situation shows how global conflicts can quickly translate into domestic political pressure, especially when